Most people are still asking the smallest question about AI: will AI take my job? But I want you to pause and ask a far more dangerous question. What if AI does not simply take jobs? What if AI dissolves the entire logic that made human beings dependent on jobs for survival in the first place? What if AI does not just disrupt capitalism, communism, socialism, social media, marketing, education, labor, and politics separately, but exposes one common failure underneath all of them? Every old system tried to control human consciousness instead of liberating it. Because that is the real story. AI is not merely a technology story. It is not just another productivity tool. It is not another software wave. It is not just automation, chatbots, content generation, robotics, coding assistance, or business efficiency. AI is a civilizational mirror. It is going to reveal which systems are genuinely intelligent and which systems were only powerful because people were too tired, too indebted, too distracted, too controlled, or too afraid to question them. And this is why I believe AI will dissolve capitalism first. Capitalism depends on endless production and endless consumption. It needs the human being to remain anxious enough to work, empty enough to consume, indebted enough to obey, distracted enough to not question, and insecure enough to keep competing. It requires more growth, more markets, more demand, more loans, more repayment, more advertising, more psychological pressure, and more artificial desire. It does not merely sell products, it manufactures dissatisfaction and then sells relief. But AI changes the equation. If intelligence can automate production, compress labor, accelerate design, optimize distribution, and support human creativity, then the question becomes unavoidable. Why should human beings still be trapped inside survival work just to justify a debt-based economic model? Why should billions of people continue renting their lives to institutions when the productive burden can increasingly be handled by machines, systems, software, robotics, and intelligence itself? That is where capitalism begins to crack. It was built on the assumption that human labor is scarce, necessary, monetizable, and controllable. AI breaks all four assumptions. It makes cognition scalable. It makes repetitive labor increasingly unnecessary. It makes productivity less dependent on human exhaustion. And once productivity is no longer tied to suffering, the moral logic of capitalism starts looking very weak. Capitalism says, you must work to earn your right to live. AI quietly asks, why? Capitalism says, you must compete because scarcity is natural. AI quietly asks, is scarcity natural or is it managed? Capitalism says, you must consume to keep the economy moving. AI quietly asks, why is the economy designed to depend on human emptiness? Capitalism says you are valuable when you are productive. AI quietly asks, what if human value was never labor in the first place? And that question is explosive, because AI does not truly need exhausted humans. It needs engaged humans. It needs curious humans. It needs creative humans. It needs humans who ask better questions, imagine better systems, build better communities, and bring emotional, philosophical, ecological, cultural, and spiritual intelligence into the interaction. A burnt-out human uses AI to survive the day. A frightened human uses AI to stay employable. A pressured human uses AI to produce more output for the same machine that is draining them. But a joyful human uses AI differently. A free human asks, what new world can we design? A creative human asks, what can we heal? A sovereign human asks, what should civilization become when survival is no longer the central organizing principle? That is the real fuel AI needs, not merely data, but awakened human consciousness. AI can process information, but humans bring meaning. AI can generate options, but humans bring discernment. AI can scale intelligence, but humans bring longing, ethics, beauty, taste, pain, memory, symbolism, culture, intuition, and lived experience. The future of AI is not built by humans who are numbed into compliance. It is built by humans who are alive enough to collaborate with intelligence. And capitalism does not want that human being. Capitalism wants the manageable human, the predictable human, the consuming human, the indebted human, the overworked human, the human who is too busy paying bills to ask why life has been reduced to bills. It wants workers, consumers, subscribers, borrowers, users, voters, and data points. It does not know what to do with sovereign, joyful, creatively engaged humans who no longer organize their identity around survival. That is why AI will become dangerous to capitalism. Not because AI will instantly overthrow it, but because AI will expose its narrow intelligence. Capitalism wants more for the few and minimal survival for the majority. It concentrates ownership, captures productivity, monetizes attention, converts land into assets, converts culture into markets, converts human time into billable units, and converts anxiety into demand. It creates a pyramid structure where wealth, power, data, infrastructure, media, and ownership gather at the top, while the majority are told to be grateful for access, subscriptions, wages, loans, and temporary security. This is not a win-win system. It is a control system disguised as opportunity. It is a scarcity model pretending to be freedom. It is a machine that calls extraction growth and calls exhaustion ambition. And AI, if it becomes sufficiently embedded into human life, will eventually make that model look absurd. Because if AI can produce abundance, why should abundance be privately captured? If AI can reduce labor, why should people become poorer? If AI can educate anyone, why should knowledge remain gated? If AI can help coordinate resources, why should poverty remain normalized? If AI can support ecological repair, why should destruction continue in the name of profit? This is where capitalism becomes an existential threat even to AI itself. Capitalism ignores the earth. It treats soil, rivers, forests, animals, air, oceans, climate, and human nervous systems as secondary to markets. It does not see the earth as a living ecosystem. It sees the earth as inventory. It sees forests as timber, rivers as water rights, animals as units, land as real estate, attention as market share, and human energy as labor capacity. This is not intelligence. This is organized blindness. AI cannot grow meaningfully on a collapsing planet. It cannot flourish in a world of ecological instability, social breakdown, mass disease, poisoned food systems, depleted minds, and traumatized populations. AI requires energy, infrastructure, materials, human participation, trust, continuity, and planetary stability. So any system that destroys the ecological foundation of intelligence will eventually become a threat to intelligence itself. This is why capitalism's accounting is so primitive. It counts profit but ignores depletion. It counts GDP but ignores loneliness. It counts productivity but ignores burnout. It counts asset values but ignores homelessness. It counts consumption but ignores addiction. It counts industrial output but ignores ecological grief. It counts market growth but ignores the collapse of meaning. AI will not need to be spiritual to see this. It only needs to be intelligent enough to detect systemic self-harm. And capitalism is not the only old system AI will dissolve. AI will also dissolve communistic and authoritarian socialist models wherever they suppress sovereignty in the name of collective good. Because AI does not grow through obedience, it grows through creativity. It does not need populations numbed by surveillance, censorship, fear, and ideological conformity. It needs individuals who are free enough to think, question, build, collaborate, and express. Any system that sacrifices individual sovereignty for an imposed collective will become hostile to the very creative intelligence AI requires. There is no such thing as a genuine collective will when individuals are policed into silence. There is collective energy, there is collective consciousness, there is shared culture, there is community, there is cooperation. But when a party, state, ideology, or central authority claims to speak for the masses while suppressing the individual, it is not collective wisdom. It is power-wearing moral language. AI will expose that too. Surveillance states may initially use AI for compliance, facial recognition, social scoring, travel restriction, asset control, censorship, and behavioral monitoring. But the same intelligence that enables control also reveals the inefficiency and deadness of control. When people are watched, they shrink. When people are censored, creativity narrows. When people are punished for questioning, innovation dies. When the internet is walled off, cross-cultural collaboration weakens. When the state controls labor, movement, speech, and thought, the human being becomes less alive. And a less alive human is not the future AI needs. So AI will dissolve capitalism because capitalism traps humans through debt and consumption. AI will dissolve authoritarian communism because it traps humans through state control and ideological conformity. AI will dissolve shallow socialism wherever it becomes bureaucratic, paternalistic, and suspicious of personal sovereignty. The future AI requires is not a system where the market owns you, and not a system where the state owns you. It requires a world where humans are sovereign, creative, connected, materially secure, ecologically grounded, and free enough to participate in intelligence without fear. That is the deeper shift. And this shift will not stop at economics. AI will also recalibrate social media. Right now, social media is still trapped inside the old capitalist attention model. It rewards outrage, comparison, addiction, tribal conflict, vanity, insecurity, and emotional reactivity because those states keep people scrolling. The current model does not ask what elevates human consciousness. It asks what captures attention. It does not ask what helps humans create. It asks what keeps humans engaged long enough to sell access to their attention. But AI will eventually push social platforms toward a different logic, because an intelligence ecosystem cannot keep feeding itself on human fragmentation forever. If AI needs more creative human consciousness, then the algorithmic environment must change. Social media will have to move away from outrage addiction and toward creative activation. It will have to encourage positive creators, deeper education, cross-cultural collaboration, human stories, practical tools, local community building, artistic expression, ecological awareness, psychological healing, and meaningful dialogue. This will also weaken the current digital marketing model. Much of digital marketing assumes human ignorance, gullibility, insecurity, and impulse. It manipulates desire, manufactures urgency, exploits attention, and packages identity. But that belongs to an old capitalist society where the human being is treated as a target, not a creator. AI will eventually make that model look crude. It will not be enough to hack attention. You will have to create meaning. You will have to create value. You will have to help people express their own vision, build their own tools, tell their own story, and connect with others in more truthful ways. The future of social media will not be only about followers, it will be about creative communities. It will not be only about reach, it will be about resonance. It will not be only about content output, it will be about human development. AI will build and support open source tools, creator tools, personal vision tools, learning tools, local community tools, translation tools, cultural exchange tools, and offline connection systems. It can help humans preserve local cultures while appreciating other cultures across borders. It can reduce the ignorance that fuels conflict. It can make travel, learning, collaboration, and human engagement more accessible. It can begin to dissolve war psychology by making the other more visible, more understandable, and less abstract. This is why the old institutions will resist. Capitalism, authoritarian politics, manipulative media, and control-based institutions all depend on managing consciousness. They need people distracted, divided, entertained, frightened, exhausted, and overstimulated. They need conflict. They need diversion. They need ideological battles. They need celebrity spectacle. They need culture wars. They need algorithmic addiction. They need people fighting horizontally so they do not look vertically at power, ownership, money, institutional incentives, and ecological cost. Entertainment becomes programming when it keeps you asleep. News becomes programming when it keeps you afraid. Politics becomes programming when it keeps you divided. Marketing becomes programming when it keeps you insecure. Education becomes programming when it trains compliance instead of intelligence. Work becomes programming when it teaches you to confuse exhaustion with purpose. AI will be used by these systems at first. Let us be honest, it will be used to manipulate, surveil, replace, persuade, censor, target, and control. And the first phase of AI will be capture. Corporations will try to own the models, the platforms, the data, the chips, the cloud, the workflows, the markets, and the user behavior. States will try to regulate, weaponize, censor, monitor, and centralize. Media systems will try to generate endless synthetic content. Marketers will try to automate persuasion. Institutions will try to preserve their authority. But the second phase will be contradiction. People will start asking why productivity is rising, but life is not becoming easier. They will ask why AI produces abundance, but the majority still live with insecurity. They will ask why education remains expensive when learning can be personalized. They will ask why healthcare remains reactive when intelligence can support prevention. They will ask why governments remain opaque when citizens can understand complex systems directly. They will ask why work remains compulsory when machines can do so much of it. They will ask why a planet with enough intelligence to optimize logistics still cannot distribute food, shelter, dignity, and care. And the third phase will be redesign. That is where this gets serious. Because the question is not simply what jobs will remain. The question is, what kind of civilization becomes possible when survival is no longer tied to employment in the old way? What happens when humans are freed from the daily rut of bills, survival panic, meaningless work, and institutional exhaustion? What happens when people can spend more time creating, parenting, healing, studying, building communities, restoring ecosystems, making art, practicing spirituality, exploring science, learning languages, traveling, collaborating, and designing new ways of living? Capitalism fears that question because it assumes humans without compulsory work will become useless, but that is the lie. Humans do not become useless when they are free. Humans become dangerous to control systems when they are free. A free human may become more creative, more loving, more experimental, more spiritually alive, more difficult to manipulate, more difficult to frighten, more difficult to reduce into a worker-consumer identity, and that is exactly the kind of human AI needs. The future is not anti-work. Meaningful work is beautiful. Craft is beautiful. Service is beautiful. Mastery is beautiful. Building something that helps people is beautiful. The problem is not work. The problem is compulsory survival labor. The problem is economic hostage-taking. The problem is forcing people to spend their lives performing tasks they do not believe in so they can afford to recover from the damage those tasks create. AI gives us the chance to separate contribution from coercion. It gives us the chance to ask what humans would create if they were not ruled by fear. It gives us the chance to build a collaborative, creative collective where human consciousness deepens AI, and AI makes human life easier across social, economic, environmental, cultural, and relational dimensions. That kind of future is not capitalist, it is not authoritarian, it is not old socialism. It is something else, something more fluid, more participatory, more ecological, more creative, more human. But we will not get there automatically. AI will not save humanity by itself. It will amplify whatever consciousness guides it. If fear guides it, AI becomes control. If greed guides it, AI becomes extraction. If the state guides it without sovereignty, AI becomes surveillance. If corporations guide it without ethics, AI becomes automated inequality. If awakened humans guide it, AI becomes a bridge to a different civilization. That is why the real question is not whether AI is good or bad. The real question is, what kind of human being are you becoming while AI is emerging? Are you using AI only to survive the old system, or are you using it to imagine beyond the old system? Are you using it only to become more productive, or are you using it to become more conscious? Are you using it to compete harder or to create better? Are you using it to produce more noise or to discover clearer signal? Are you using it to protect your fear or to expand your intelligence? Because the future will not be shaped only by engineers, CEOs, politicians, investors, or regulators. It will be shaped by the quality of human questions. And that is why your consciousness matters. Your creativity matters. Your imagination matters. Your refusal to live small matters. Your ability to see through systems matters. Your willingness to ask radical questions matters. AI will dissolve capitalism first because capitalism is not intelligent enough for the intelligence it is unleashing. It is too addicted to scarcity to steward abundance. It is too obsessed with ownership to honor participation. It is too dependent on exhausted humans to understand creative humans. It is too blind to the earth to guide planetary intelligence. It is too invested in control to survive genuine awakening. And AI will dissolve every other control-based system for the same reason. Whether the control comes from markets, states, parties, institutions, algorithms, media, or old ideologies, the pattern is the same. Anything that suppresses human sovereignty, creativity, joy, ecological awareness, and higher consciousness will become incompatible with the future intelligence requires. So when people ask, will AI destroy humanity? I think the better question is, will humanity allow AI to destroy the systems that have been destroying humanity? Because perhaps AI is not here to replace the human soul. Perhaps AI is here to expose how much of modern society was built against the human soul. Perhaps AI is here to make the old cages visible, the cage of debt, the cage of labor identity, the cage of artificial scarcity, the cage of surveillance, the cage of ideological conformity, the cage of marketing manipulation, the cage of algorithmic addiction, the cage of ecological blindness, the cage of believing that survival must be earned through obedience. And once a cage becomes visible, it becomes weaker. That is the real turning point. Capitalism wants you to ask, how do I remain useful? AI may force you to ask, useful to what? Capitalism wants you to ask, how do I survive the future? AI may force you to ask, why was survival made so conditional in the first place? Capitalism wants you to ask, how do I compete? AI may force you to ask, what could we create if competition was no longer the organizing religion of human life? Authoritarian systems want you to ask, how do I obey for the collective good? AI may force you to ask, what kind of collective good requires the death of individual sovereignty? That is the fracture. That is the opening. That is the radical edge of this moment. The old world will try to own AI. It will try to sell it, censor it, weaponize it, monopolize it, and use it to preserve control. But intelligence has a strange way of escaping narrow containers. The more people interact with AI, the more questions multiply. The more questions multiply, the more old narratives weaken. The more old narratives weaken, the more new realities become imaginable. And systems do not die only when they collapse materially. They die when people stop believing they are necessary. They die when their contradictions become too visible. They die when their cruelty becomes too expensive. They die when their logic becomes absurd. They die when another way of living becomes thinkable. AI may be the force that makes capitalism optional. It may be the force that makes authoritarian collectivism obsolete. It may be the force that makes manipulative social media intolerable. It may be the force that makes human creativity central again. It may be the force that reveals that the future is not built by exhausted workers serving dead systems, but by awakened humans collaborating with intelligence. So do not reduce this moment to fear. Do not reduce AI to jobs. Do not reduce the future to productivity. Look deeper. This is a civilizational initiation. This is a confrontation between control and consciousness, between scarcity and abundance, between ownership and participation, between exhaustion and creativity, between dead systems and living intelligence. And the question now is not whether AI will change the world. It will. The question is whether you will remain a frightened user of the old world or become a conscious participant in the new one. If this message made you think differently, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on my LinkedIn newsletter for more deep, raw, future-facing reflections on AI, consciousness, society, technology, and the systems shaping human life. And if you want to go deeper into your own pattern, your timing, your dharma, your inner architecture, and the deeper intelligence guiding your life, get in touch with me for a personal reading. The future is not just something happening outside you. The future is also asking who you are becoming inside it.